And boy, what an incredible
sight.
sight in the sky above red, white, and boom. Well, you know, on this most patriotic of holidays, we celebrate freedom and independence and the American spirit, but it is often said that freedom is not free. And often it's the young sons and daughters who go off and are called to the front lines in military service. Lima Company is a Marine Corps Reserve Rifle Company, 3rd Battalion, 25th Marines. First called into service back in May of 1943. But tonight we remember a deployment to Iraq in 2005. Young men who marched off to war. Too many of them never came home. It's hard to look away from these eyes, smiling eyes, welcoming eyes. They seem to be looking out toward a bright future. But these eyes will stay forever young, and these young men are forever gone. 10 years ago, Lima Company was deployed to Iraq on the front lines of Operation Freedom. They would be gone only 7 months, but 23 of them would never come home. 22 Marines and a Navy corpsman were killed in action. The grief-stricken survivors of Lima Company came back to Ohio to find the streets lined with strangers who shared their anguish and wanted to find some way to honor their service and the memories of their fallen brothers. Artist Anita Miller was haunted by the images and awoke suddenly one night with a vision of portraits lining the State House rotunda. Each of the 23 young men who died in service to their country lovingly captured as his family would want him to be remembered.
So she took each one of their names on an index card and put them like face down in her studio and shuffled it all up. And then, okay, these 3 guys I think need to be together, these 3 guys need to be together. And then she wrote that combination down, shuffled them up again, got the same exact combination.
For 2.5 years, Anita painted. Sometimes her subjects seemed to be guiding her. Each time she sketched Christopher Lyon, he had a pen and paper in his hands. She couldn't understand why, until she called his mother.
She said, "Oh my gosh, Anita, every room of their house he had a pen and paper so he could get, anytime he had an idea, he'd grab it, write it down." And he was writing for a Mansfield, Ohio newspaper when he was in Iraq. So she left it in.
One by one, each of the young men came back to life on canvas. Sean Flaherty volunteered to document the process on film. Then, each of the families donated a pair of their sons' boots, and the Eyes of Freedom Memorial was born. It was displayed first at the State House Rotunda, but now it goes on the road.
Right now we're in the middle of 500,000 to 1 million people, and many of them are seeing us for the first time, and it's special.
We were in the nation's capital during the Memorial Day bikers rally known as Rolling Thunder when the Eyes of Freedom made its Washington, D.C. debut.
It's letting families know that we haven't forgotten them. It's letting them know that we still appreciate what the soldiers are doing today.
We were all military family. We are military family. And I lost a family member. And it breaks my heart, but I'm so proud of him.
Elizabeth Bloom is seeing the portrait of her young cousin, Lance Corporal Nicholas Bloom, for the very first time.
I have children too who serve now in the military. And I couldn't ask for a better hero than Nicholas.
This stands for much more than the faces you see here. This truly travels for anybody that's ever served then, now, and tomorrow.
I think, being a veteran myself, that it displays what most people don't understand about our freedom. The price of our freedom isn't free. And these men paid the ultimate price so that the people of this country could live every day in freedom.
Veterans of all wars have an emotional, immediate connection to these portraits.
Yeah, I was in Iraq and Afghanistan. I lost my arm in Afghanistan in 2008.
Darren Fuller served 20 years in the British Army, was a paratrooper when he lost his arm in battle, but considers himself lucky as he looks at these young faces.
They've still got a life to lead. They're so young. Let's let them have that life first. But it's always the young ones that go. They're the ones that are right on the front line. putting everything on the line.
At 33 years of age, Staff Sergeant Anthony Goodwin was the oldest member of Lima Company to be killed during this deployment. In fact, he was the only one in his 30s. Most of the young men you see in these portraits were in their 20s, their early 20s. A few in their teens, including Christopher Dixon of Obetz, the youngest to die, killed in action at the age of 18.
I was fortunate enough to survive the May 11th roadside bomb, that IED blast. We lost 6 of my brothers around us in that blast, and I almost didn't make it either.
Sergeant Mike Straley spent weeks in the hospital. He is one of the Lima Company survivors who came home with devastating injuries and survivor's guilt. But he says the eyes of freedom seem to have a healing power for troubled veterans.
You know, it's been healing for me too. So when I'm seeing the reaction of all of these veterans, and I'm seeing what it does, not only when they're with me, but what it does to their family life and just the way they act, and some of the troubles that they have with PTSD and some other issues that they may be struggling with, it is motivating, because I wasn't, I was struggling a little bit too myself before this came into my life.
Now, the retired Sergeant Straley and Sean Flaherty will take these portraits all around the country, sharing the stories of 23 young men who loved America enough to die for it. Young men whose eyes tell the story of freedom.
It's an honor for me to be in this position. I hope to be in it for a very long time, and there's a lot more people that have to see this.
That is a powerful piece.
Really
nice
is.
job on that.
And it is interesting to see the reaction of veterans when they first see it, because no matter what war they were in, it takes them back.
That's right.
And it really is such a tribute to the young men who from Lima Company, and we all remember what a tragedy that was.
It certainly was. We mentioned earlier the mayor's own son just missed. He was in that group.
Yeah.
Every year, as a part of the Red, White, and Boom, we take time to honor the men, and we hope we've done a good job tonight, the men and women who serve our country.
And the musical salutes to military veterans, the heroes, are filled with pictures we receive from you, our viewers, of loved ones who are currently serving or who have served in the armed forces in the past.
And again, tonight is really in large part about you. And so we hope that they all and you all accept our heartfelt thank you
as we get ready for Red, White, and Boom.